Hi everybody, this is Andy from MacGyver's Garden, and first I want to apologize for the length of time between these last videos. We've been waiting for some decent weather here so that we could show you how to actually set up a garden bed, but we've been getting nothing but rain and snow last week every other day, and this week it's been rain every other day, so looks like it's going to be next week before we can do that. But in the meantime, I can show you what we need to do to set up a garden. First off, what you're going to want to do is pick an area that has at least 8 hours of sunlight a day. If the area that you want to garden has less than 8 hours, about all you'll be able to grow is lettuce and spinach, and they'll go pretty good. And in fact, they'll be a little sweeter than if you have it in full sun. But any sun-loving plant like tomato, pumpkin, watermelon, any of your vine crops, they're all going to want at least 8 hours a day of sun, possibly as much as 12. So keep that in mind. Once you've got the area picked out that you want to garden, you're going to run two tests on it. One is dig a hole about a foot deep. Set the soil aside, dig a hole about a foot deep, and then fill that hole with water. And time how long it takes for that water to drain. If it takes more than an hour to drain, you've got too much clay, and there are some amendments you're going to want to put to your soil to make it more garden ready. Secondly, what I'm going to ask you to do is take a glass jar, like a mason jar, 1 quart mason jar, or even a peanut butter jar, anything that's got a good lid. And what you're going to do is put 1 cup of that soil that you dug out into that jar, then fill it with water, cover it, and shake it real good for about 15 to 30 seconds. And then let it sit. What you'll end up with is a bit of goop like this, and what you'll be looking for is, as if you put it on a level surface like a windowsill that doesn't have any vibration. Don't put it on a refrigerator, there's too much vibration. But you want to put it on a windowsill, and what will happen is it'll settle out into layers. And these layers are what's going to tell you what your soil is made of. The perfect soil is called loam, and it's made of 40% sand, 40% silt, which is a little finer than sand, and 20% clay. All right? Now, your sand will sift out very quickly. It'll settle out very quickly at the bottom. Now this one, you probably can't see the layers, but this one has very little sand, almost no sand. The next layer is little bigger particles, and that's your, that's your silt layer. And the silt layer on this one goes up to about here. And then the rest of this is clay. So it's got about 30 to 40% clay in there. Anything over 30% clay is going to give you drainage problems. But we'll teach you how to get rid of some of that next week when we actually set up this garden bed. But this gives you a real quick and easy method to see what's in your ground. In this case, we're going to want to add a little sand. And for clay, one of the best things you can do, clay or too much sand. If you have too much sand, your water drains through too quickly, your nutrients drain through too quickly. If you have too much clay, your water doesn't drain at all. So, but the answer to both those is to actually take organic material and till that into it. You want to till in more organic material that'll build up your silt layer as it breaks down, but in the meantime it helps fill up the clay particles and allows it to drain better, or fill up the sand particles, allowing it to hold water better. As far as saying what kind of organic material to till in, you can till in sawdust, you can till in grass clippings, you can till in a combination of the two, which is actually one of the best mulches you can do, or you can till in any of the rotted manures. Now, while we're on the subject of manure, all manures aren't created equal. If you've got access to poultry manure like chicken or turkey manure, that's good stuff, but it's very, very strong. You're going to want to use it very sparingly, otherwise it can burn your plants. If you have access to dairy manure, that works very, very well. However, do not use steer manure. And the reason is that the steers are being fattened up for the butcher, and they give them a lot of salt. So you have too much salt in their manure. So if you can get dairy manure, that's good, or horse manure, but it has to, all this stuff has to be rotted for about a year to 2 years first. So you want to find someplace that's got a large quantity of the piles that they move around. I've got a stable in the neighborhood, a riding stable that I generally get my horse manure from, and they've got a pile that's over 2 years old. And what's cool about this is that you can usually get it almost free. If you want to shovel it in yourself, they'll give it to you for free. But otherwise, they'll load it with a skip loader for $5, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a deal. So I generally every couple of years go and get some of that. Last year I put in sawdust. This year I'm putting in horse manure again to try and change the levels here and bring them up more to what they're supposed to be. Also, we're going to add some sand to this to try and bring it up to the perfect loam level. Again, the perfect balance in here would be 20% clay and 40% loam, and then the bottom layer would be 40% sand. Anyway, next week, what we're going to do is we're going to try, if weather permitting, we're going to try and till up an area and get it set up, show you how to make it so it'll drain well, also make it so that it'll produce well for your plants, and we'll build some garden beds next week. In the meantime, this is MacGyver's Garden, and may all your weeds be wildflowers.